In this video, we are finally going to finish our note on graphical representations of one variable data. So we started this last week and then we didn't have a chance to go back to it, and we're going back to it today. So we were on page 2, so I'm going to flip to page 2. And we had started and finished, I'd say, at least 2/3 of this question. So there was a pictograph telling us how many students were in French immersion at Blakelock during the 2019-2020 school year. We had gone through and figured out how many students were in each grade, and we calculated all of those numbers. We had added them all up to get the total number of students in French immersion, and then we wrote out a list of the numbers in the data set. And we said there were 57 grade 9s, and instead of writing out 57 times, we decided we would just write out a couple of 9s and then indicate that there were 57 of them, that we had 58 grade 10s, 44 grade 11s, 60 grade 12s, and 3 grade 13s. We didn't really need the 3 because we could write them all out, but it just looked weird not having it. Okay, we found the mode, which we said was grade 12 because we had the most of those, and then we need to talk about the median. So the median is the middle number, and I have 220 numbers here that we have to look at. So I don't really want to have to count 220, like find the middle point of 220. That's a little tricky to do, especially when we didn't write all the numbers out. So what we're going to start by doing is taking that number 222, and we are going to divide it in half to see where the median would fall. So if I do 222 divided by 2, I get 111. So what I would normally do is count in 111 numbers from this end, count in 111 numbers from this end, and then see where that middle number is. I don't have them all written out, so instead I'm going to try to use the numbers at the bottom to help me figure this out. So if I start from the left, we have 57 grade 9s. We're trying to find 111, so I know that it's not in the grade 9s. If I add 57 and 58, I get 115. So these two together are 115. We are looking for 111. So 111 would have to be somewhere in the list before I hit the end of the grade 10s, right? Which tells me that my median is going to be somewhere in that middle of all of the grade 10s, right? If I tried coming from the other side, if I take 3 and 60, that gets me to 63. And then if I add 44, that gets me to 107. And like I said, we were trying to find spot 111, meaning we need to go further into this next group. So that tells me that my median is somewhere in that list of 10s. So my median is going to be grade 10. Right? We were looking for spot 111, which is somewhere in just really close to the end of those grade 10s. All right, last part is the mean. So to calculate the mean, we add up all of the numbers and then divide by the number of numbers. So to find my mean, normally I would do 9 plus 9 plus 9 plus 9 plus 9 plus 9 plus 9, 57 times, and then 10 plus 10 plus 10 plus 10 plus 10, 58 times. But that's going to be a lot of adding and a lot more work than I want to do. So we're going to try to see if there's a short way to do this. I know that there are 57 9s. So instead of adding 9 57 times, I could do 9 times 57. So 9 times 57 is the equivalent of adding up all 57 of those 9s. And then we have 58 grade 10s. So I'm going to add on all the 10s and I'm going to multiply it by 58 because there are 58 of them. Then for the grade 11s, there are 44 of those. So I'm going to add in 44 11s, or just multiply 11 by 44 as a bit of a shortcut. Then for my grade 12s, we have 60 grade 12s. So I'm going to take my grade 12s and multiply that by 60 instead of adding 12 plus 12 plus 12. It would take a lot of adding to do that. And then last but not least, I have the 13s. So I could do plus 13 plus 13 plus 13. There are only 3 of them. But to be consistent with how I did all the others, I'm going to take 13 and just times it by 3. And then that total, once we add it up, we are dividing by 222 because that's the total number of students that we had. Okay, this is going to involve a little bit of side calculating. I'm going to do all of the multiplications first because order of operations says we multiply before we add, and then I will add those numbers together. So we're going to start with 9 times 57. That is 513. Then we're going to do 10 times 58. That is 580. We've got 11 times 44, which is 484. And then 12 times 60, that is 720. And then 13 times 3 is 39. Don't know where the 6 came from. All right, and that is still waiting to be divided by 222. All right, I'm going to add those things together. So I have 513 plus 580 plus 484 plus 720 plus 39, and I get 2,336. We're going to divide that by 222. All right, so 2,336 divided by 222 gives me a decimal. So it did say to round to the nearest hundredth, which is 2 numbers after the decimal. So that is 10.52. If I take a peek at the next number, it's a 2. So we're going to leave it at 10.52. So this is 10.52. Now, if I were to put a unit with it, which I always should, this is a grade. So technically it's grade 10.52, which doesn't really make a ton of sense, but the mean doesn't always represent a single number on our list. It's looking at, you know, the combined of all of them together. Okay. I'm going to stop the video here, and then I will see you in the next video to take a look at that pie chart.